All right, good evening, traders. Let's jump into our market trading and portfolio recap for August 23rd, 2023. It's a Wednesday, and let's take a look at what happened in the markets today. And before we do that, let's take a look at what happened with NVIDIA after hours today. So if you can see over here on the little small screen on the left, we can see NVIDIA and after hours trading here in the gray. So kind of flat heading into it. And then in the after hours, NVIDIA moved up pretty substantially. So we started right around that 471, got all the way up to 514, fussed around, got up to 520. It's still hanging right around 508. So NVIDIA beating earnings pretty well today and upping their guidance. So not only did they beat earnings, which was expected, but they upped guidance. So strong earnings play on NVIDIA, and it is up substantially in after hours here, up to about 508 or so, as high as 520 at one point in the after hours. If we take a look at some of the other stocks out there and what happened, you can see Tesla got a bump today as well. That was up pretty well in after hours. Closed around 237 on the day and was as high as 243 in after hours, selling off a bit now. Amazon got a huge bump. So that closed about 135, got up to about 137 or so. So that got a pretty nice bump as well. And it's still hanging up there. Microsoft closed at 327 and ran up to 335 in the after hours. So good moves today, despite the fact that most of these stocks were up 1 to 2% on the day to begin with. And if we look in the middle here at ES, we can see exactly what happened on ES in the after hours. So as soon as those earnings came out, you can see that we've rocketed it up to about 44.76. So we were up about 48 points on the day, and we're up another 30 points in after hours trading. So up another 30 points on SPX or the ES futures in after hours trading. So big day today in the markets and up substantially in the after hours. So let's take a look at exactly what did happen on the day. SPY took off and never really looked back for the most part on the day. So we gapped up on the day and we ran higher and closed pretty much near our highs, closing all the way at the top of this zone that we've been watching, give or take a little bit here. And, PSAR, we knew that was a bullish reversal yesterday. We ran all the way up almost to the 21, but we did break back above the 50. So just oscillating back and forth in this tight channel. But with NVIDIA earnings coming out, if we see a 30-point upside, tomorrow, we could be in for some more fun on this particular thing. So we are looking for potentially right now about another pretty good pop, 3 points or so on SPY, which would put us about 446 or so in this range, which would break above the 21. Now it's only the beginning of after hours trading. It's early in the NVIDIA earnings calls and such as well. So we'll see what happens. But overall, pretty strong move after hours on NVIDIA, which closed again 471 and is up to 509 as we speak in after hours trading. We did place a trade on NVIDIA at the close. I will go through that trade with you. So there's SPY. When we look at the Qs, again, pretty much similar. We really have broken out of this downtrend. So I'm going to take that off the screen now. There's really nothing here to be too worried or excited about. We might just actually bring this line back over a little bit more. That was a previous resistance, came down, a little bit of support, resistance again. So we'll see if this becomes a resistance area at 373 or so on the Qs. But I would think right now in after hours, we are up to about 373. So that's been our move, is 372.90 or so in after hours, which is exactly where this line that I've drawn is. So that's where we are on the Qs. RSI continues to move up, as does MACD. If we remember looking at SPY 2, exact same thing. RSI now almost to the 50 mark, and MACD flipping over. If we take a look at IWM and see what happened there during the day, we just bounced and meandered right around this confluence of the 21, 50, and 200 moving averages. Still down, technically on the weekly, but on the daily, a good bounce off of the 200 MA, heading back up towards the 50 and 21 with RSI and MACD leading the way. If we take a look at what happened in the VIX today, a down day on the VIX as you would expect. So that's a couple down days in a row, really like 3 down days in a row on the VIX, almost 4, as you see MACD and RSI heading lower. So VIX dropping back to under 16. The US dollar, which is where we really are focusing due to a lot of the indexes that are affected by it, it had a down day today. It initially was up higher, putting pressure on some of the Forex pieces, and then it did close on its lows of the day, failing at this trend line, failing at the Bollinger Band up here. Don't know if it's a trend or not, but you can see again, MACD and RSI definitely pointing towards some lower movement in the dollar, and that would be huge for a lot of the trades that we have on. So looking forward to that. And then we got a pretty significant bounce today on TLT. I mentioned it yesterday that maybe this was the bottom or close to it as a double bottom here on the weekly, and soared higher today. Dollar dropped, TLT ran big, so bonds big gainers on the day. MACD continues to improve, and RSI continues to head higher. So might be a good time to get long on that TLT, as I mentioned yesterday. So if you took the advice yesterday, you may be up on it today. Looking just at some of the Forex pieces, again, dollars dropping. So we're seeing the Aussie dollars continue to strengthen here. We're seeing the British pound, which was down a bit on the day substantially, bouncing off this resistance level again for the 3rd time in really the last 3 weeks or so. So we've really hit this support line multiple times, bouncing back off of it today. And then if we look at, the euro before we jump into oil. So if we're looking at the euro, a nice bounce day today on it, trying to just get a little bit higher. Not a big move, but decent enough. If we're looking at oil, oil had a down day today. However, oil inventories came out this morning and showed another decrease in inventory levels. So we are withdrawing our inventory levels on oil, which is a very bullish sign. We were down heavier early with the dollar being up. As the dollar dropped, oil started to gain a little bit of that back. So good inventory news on oil. I like the way it's looking in here. I think it still has some weakness, but it's a good pullback, holding that 50 today and bouncing. It did lose the 21. So we'll keep an eye on it. Perfect area for strangles in here on oil. I think we could potentially go a little bit lower. I think there's a bounce potentially in play at some point. So I think a strangle is perfect here as we start to widen out the bands a bit on the Bollinger Bands. Volatility is increasing, which means a little bit more premium. I think that's good for us. And then gold on the day, huge day on gold. So finally, a big update. We've had 2 small updates and a pretty big update. We've been telling you about this for a while. Here's the 200 MA. Here's the MACD, which had already reversed, coming off oversold on the RSI. So definitely a lot of good bullish signs. Big move up today on gold, and that was super helpful for our strangles, which had taken some pressure because of all of this selling from this 2,000 level all the way down to almost this 1,900 level. So a pretty good sell-off was in tow here, almost 100 points down, 5% drop. And then you're seeing a little bit of a bounce the last couple sessions. So we'll see if that holds and if we're able to keep moving ahead on gold. And then if we look at the bonds, huge day up in bonds. We've already talked about TLT, so we've already really covered this, but we're seeing a good move in the bonds here. If we take a look at some of the sectors, the strongest sector on the day was, of course, the XLK. This was a big up move today because we had really nice moves pretty much across the board. Apple was up 2%, Microsoft 1.4%, Amazon 1%, Tesla 1.6%, Meta 2.3%, NVDA up 3% today before the after hours earnings, Google up 2.5%. So had a really good day here, up 1.8% in XLK as we really came off these oversold levels. This was a perfect spot to be selling puts or put spreads down in here as you were oversold, bouncing. The second low, or this ultimate low here, was a higher RSI. So you had some deviation in the divergence, I should say, in the RSI lows, indicating that this low was not as serious as this one. So an uptick was expected. So nice moves on XLK, XLY, XLC, all of them running well. XLE, you would expect to be a little bit weak, a little defensive sector here. So it was down harder, finished up on the day. So overall, not a bad day, pretty much flat, but a good day for a pullback, breaking the 21 though, but then closing above it. So we'll see what happens. But I still like energy here. XLF bounced on the day, so we got some up move on XLF, and that's what buoyed the IWM as well in the small caps. So those are all good. And then if we turn to a few individual names, we've already covered these, but Amazon here above its 21 EMA, Apple at the 21 EMA, but the 21 is below the 50. So Apple not as strong as Amazon, and Amazon is up nicely in after hours, another 2 points. So back to this downtrend line that we had drawn here. This line is now coming back into play for tomorrow, depending on where we get to. All right, if we take a look at Microsoft, back above its 21 EMA and right at the 50 EMA. Meta breaking back above the 50, but not quite to the 21. Google, I've been talking about Google. I've been telling you that this thing is going to move more than the rest. Obviously not NVIDIA, but it's going to move pretty well. And you've got Google up slightly in after hours as well, a couple points in after hours, but it was up 2.5% today. And I told you this descending triangle that we had looked really good. Got the PSAR reversal today. It bounced pretty well off of the 21 EMA. MACD and RSI had already been reversing, and this has held up the best of all of the techs, so that if the market moves higher, this was absolutely going to move, and it did so today. So maybe you got into that. NVIDIA, we've already covered. Good down day yesterday, back up today, and then up significantly in after hours, up about the 506 mark. So it's going to not only break this high at 481, this thing is going to head all the way up tomorrow, potentially. We'll see what the open looks like, but it's going to be up above the 3 ATR. So a pretty big move on NVIDIA. It's dragging the whole market higher. Tesla, not quite back to its 21 EMA. This thing looks pretty weak still, even though there's a reversal in MACD and RSI. It's still in a pretty significant downtrend. We'll keep an eye on Tesla. So Tesla and Apple, the least exciting of the stocks that we've been keeping an eye on. So let's take a look at a few other things. And we looked at some China plays today. So KWEB, one of those. So we looked at a China play on KWEB, and you had this symmetrical triangle on the weekly. We're at the bottom of it. It bounced off of that. Even though we got this week a PSAR bearish signal, we'll keep an eye on that. On the daily, though, we got a nice bounce off of that trend line, RSI moving higher and MACD reversing higher. So we took a little bit of a gamble on KWEB as we look to see if China moves itself higher. I'm not saying it's going all the way back up into the 30s. We did a low risk, high reward play on KWEB by just buying a call option right here at the money, and we'll keep an eye on that. So we did not spend a whole lot on KWEB. On the same note, we got into BABA as well, and BABA been on a decent PSAR bullish move coming off of this support level, ran up, pulled back down, bouncing off of that. But if we look at the daily chart here, we're coming off of the bottom Bollinger Band here. MACD and RSI are reversing, moving higher. We're heading to this confluence of technical moving averages here, the 200, the 50, and the 21 EMA. So we'll see what happens. It's off its highs of the day. However, after hours, it's up a tad as well. So we like potentially a short move here on BABA. We also are looking at BIDU. So a lot of Chinese names today and pretty good moves on all of them. Pretty much the exact same story on BIDU here. They all look the same, kind of the same trade. We did some butterflies on BABA and BIDU today. So let's take a look at the account, and then we're going to actually jump into the portfolio and look at some trades we had. It's a little bonus action tonight as we go through some of the things that we have. All right, for the 23rd, Delta on the day finished at 634, which is 0.22. So on this nice up move today, we got a big adjustment in our Delta. We had a hedge come off, which is totally fine. And even though that hedge is pretty much coming off, our deltas are back into line for the most part. Like to get it down under the 0.2, but we're close now. And all we needed was the market to move. So we didn't overreact and try to buy negative delta and unload a lot of our positives. We unloaded some gainers that were long delta over the course of the last week or so. And then the markets come back to us. So we really didn't have to overreact too much. 879 on theta. So great theta in here right now. So 0.3 back to where we really want to be. Now a huge update on net lick, a $5,000 gain on the portfolio today, putting us now at an all-time high, 288. Going back, 286 was the high water mark for this portfolio. 286, 237. We're now at 288, 667. So a pretty big gain on the day, almost a 2-point gain for us. Now the market itself ran up nicely 1%. We ran up 2% on the day. Now buying power did jump a bit to 201,000, which is 70% almost, which is much higher than we want. However, we told you yesterday that we added about $6,800 in BIL. We added, and that was buying power wise, we added another $20,000 in buying power to build today. So overall, we've added $27,500 in buying power. Now that will be the buying power that we're going to see that's going to be required moving forward, which is 25% on margin on that. But when we initially put these on, they take 50% margin until they settle in a couple of days. So that did bump our BP up. However, right now, this is the actual, and by the way, this is the actual realized requirement that we'll see in a couple of days. 27, we're probably closer to 30 to 40 right now. So we will expect to see that our BP will drop back in line tomorrow. However, I'm expecting to keep my buying power for BIL, and we're expecting to keep that at about 10%. So 10% of our net lick is going to be in BIL, which is the 1 to 3 month T-bill ETF. It's paying a little over 5% right now. So we're investing in that. It doesn't really affect the account to a large extent. We've got plenty of cash in this account. So it's only really drawing down a little bit of margin. We'll talk about this a little bit more. I don't want to get too deep into it today, but 10% of our overall buying power will be in BIL. I will keep track of that as we go. So I'll always be subtracting 10% from whatever the daily use is, but I've got to give it a couple days to settle into that number. So I'm going to be looking to keep my BP around 60 because I know it's really at 50, if that makes sense to you, without BIL in there. And if for some reason we have an event and span margin jacks us up to, you know, the 80, 90% range or 100, we can always unload the BIL that we have and move give ourselves some margin room. So it's an easy thing to get in and out of. We did lose $15 on the day. We had 2 trades. We'll talk about those in just a minute. So $15 down, not a big deal. I'll take 15 down and a $5,000 increase in net lick. Still right around $6,000 up for the month, 2% with a week to go. And our net lick for the account is now up $2,430 for the month, about 0.85%. So it's up decent as well. And let's take a look at the trades that we were in today. So 2 trades that we had on. The first one was a hedge that came off today. We had put this hedge on when the market was falling back on the 9th. So we've held on to this hedge for 14 days. We bought the 4,300 put on ES. It freed up buying power. It gave us negative delta. It was positive for quite a while. Then obviously with the move in the last couple of days, it's going to expire worthless today. We're going to lose $875 on that, but it's a hedge. You expect to lose money on a hedge. It's the cost of doing business. I treat my trading like a business. This is just one of those expenses. You buy insurance. And that's what I did. You buy insurance. It's an expense. Overall, we pretty much wiped that out with the trade today. And that trade today was the put debit spread of the nat gas 112 that we had on. So the put debit spread of the 112 in nat gas, we actually closed that for a credit today, which is perfect. So we actually were able to generate an additional $860 on the put debit spread because we were able to close this thing in the trap. Now we had already pulled the naked puts off of this. So back on the 16th, we had closed the naked puts for a 95% winner, roughly at 0.003 cents. And then today we were actually able to close for a credit. The put debit spread generated an extra $860. So good day today in the account. Pretty much a wash, $15 down, not a big deal for us. So pretty much a wash. We paid for our hedge with nat gas. So we're all good to go moving forward. We freed up a little more buying power. So let's take a look at the portfolio. Something we don't normally do here, but I'm going to jump into my portfolio and give you a peek at what's going on here. So let's jump in and let's take a look at where we are. So give me a moment. And we will see, we're going to go through the BIL trade as well as going through the trades that we put on today in the Chinese stock. So let's take a quick look at where we are. So here we go. You can see the account today. So this is the Income Navigator portfolio from Mr. Top Tick, the one we provide all of the feedback on these sessions. So you can see we've got 6A as a strangle up in here. That's down just a fraction, 100 and some bucks right now. You've got 6E strangle. That one's down about $600. Again, that strong dollar has put some pressure on these Forex products, but we've only been in it 13 days, so really not too worried about that. Oil did drop today, but not terribly. We had a gain actually on a 112. That we have on in oil. We're at a 96% profit so far. We're close to being able to take off these naked puts at 95%, freeing up the buying power on that. We've got another 112 that's up 60% since we opened it in 23 days. So that's working well. We've got a strangle in oil that's up 1% in 13 days. So that's doing just fine. On ES here, here's what's left. We've got that one hedge that we talked about that's coming off today. So that'll be a loss. And we have another hedge that's got 7 days to go. Again, we expect to lose the money on the hedges. It's all good. Not worried about that. And then we have 2 put debit spreads that are left over. We've already taken the naked puts off at 95% winner. So these 2 put debit spreads are just there. If we sell off hard, they'll pay off. If not, we've already taken the profits. On ES, we've got 112s galore. We've got strangles galore. We're up on our strangles. All of them are in the 30 to 37% range. 112s are all doing great. We've got naked puts here at 92%. We'll be taking those off in the next couple of days if we keep moving higher. So ES is doing great. Gold, our strangles here, we've got one at 25, one at 32%, and another one down here at 20%. So 3 strangles on gold. These are all doing well right now, moving forward. Nat gas, we still have a strangle here, and this strangle has been on for 20 days. We're up 11% in that nat gas strangle. Here in soybeans, we've already taken the profits on our naked puts. We just have 2 put debit spreads left. And if soybeans drops far enough down in here, they'll pay off. If not, we've already gotten the gains on that. We do have an Apple Leap here, which is still down $260. Now, BABA, we did enter a trade on BABA today. We put on a call butterfly trade. So that one's, down $8. We've had that on today. We added BIDU. Now, BIDU is actually up. Same thing. We put a call butterfly on BIDU. That's up $16 so far. These will be short-term trades. I'm going to skip over BIL, come back to it. Here's that KWEB call that we bought. It's basically flat. End phase, it's a leap that's down a couple $100. Right now, we're just going to hang on to that. Now, NVIDIA, this is an interesting one after hours. So you can see on NVIDIA, if you look up here, the bid ask right now is about 504. What we did today is we put on a version of the Batman trade, which is 2 different butterflies, a put butterfly and a call butterfly. So if we take a quick look at how these look, this is what this trade looks like. Tasty works in the way it works here, but this is what that trade looks like if we dropped down to around the 420 mark. So I put these on at roughly the expected move down and up. So if we drop down into here, we'll make some money. If we run up here at 505, and guess where we are right now in after hours, we're at 504. So we are dead center of this upper butterfly. It doesn't mean it's going to be there tomorrow morning. It doesn't mean it's going to be there tomorrow afternoon, depending on when we want to take this trade off. But right now, we kind of hedged our bets a little bit up or down on NVIDIA. Hopefully, we can peg this thing around 505 and be there most of the day tomorrow or into Friday. But I will take it off at a decent profit if it gives me that opportunity. So there's NVIDIA. Today, we also bought or sold some puts on QQQ. So this is a put butterfly, just a little bit of a hedge, slightly negative. Obviously, tomorrow, this is a 2-dayer. So if this doesn't work out, we're going to lose, maybe we'll lose $150. A little bit of a hedge in case NVIDIA didn't take off the way it should. And then SPX, we've got a unbalanced fly that's in there that if we move up to 4,500 or so tomorrow, and right now that is a good likelihood that we'll move up somewhere. We'll see if this fly pays off. Thanks to Gabe in our Mr. Top Tick group for sharing this trade. So I cannot claim credit for this. This is Gabe's trade. He was trying to put it on for a credit. I actually put it on for a debit because I wanted to get this trade on. So hats off to Gabe. He is a fantastic butterfly trader and has been uncanny in his ability to hit these flies. So followed him on that. And then we do have our bear trap trade that's on. If you want to take a look at what that looks like here, let's jump into the bear trap trade. And here's what that looks like. Okay. So here's what the bear trap looks like. It's similar in shape to a 112. However, this is a SPX version, and it's made up of all puts. Here, you've got a put debit spread up here and a wider put credit spread down here. We are in the trap, so this trade is up, I believe, about 130% right now. Now, it does have several days to go till expiration. If we finish in this trap, it'll give me 610 bucks. If we finish in the tail up here, anywhere higher, it's going to pay $110. And if we do that, what did we do when we put this particular trade on? We put this trade on for $110 credit. So we put it on for $110 credit. So if we're in that tail, we'll keep that credit. And if we end up in the trap, we're going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 and some dollars, which would be a 6x return on our credit. So we'll keep an eye on this one, but it's up 138% right now on the bear trap. So, and then SPY, we have a handful of leaps down here. So we've got plenty of leaps on SPY that we're letting go. What did we do in BIL? As I talked about earlier, we do have the 1 to 3 month T-bill ETF bill. We've added $110,000 worth of bill here at 5%. If it stays around 5%, for the year, we're going to generate in the neighborhood of $5,500, and we're going to do $5,500 on about $27,000 in margin. It's a pretty nice return. Do the math, but $5,500 using 27,514 bucks in margin is a 20% return in this account, and we're using the cash portion of this account. And like I said, I put this on to equal about 10% of my net lick, which is 10% of my buying power. All right, so I'm looking to leave it here. I don't think I'm going to go any higher. I could go up to 20% and double that. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I want to keep my buying power without BIL around 50, with BIL around 60 at 10%. If I decide to drop, or if the market really starts to sell off, and we may pare our buying power back, although it may increase as we sell off. But if I pare back a bit and I get down to maybe the 40 range, then maybe I'll increase BIL up to about 20% of the overall account. All right, so there you go. Good return on not too much of anything except some buying power in my account. So I like the way that looks. All right, so there's our day for you today. Great day in the market. Great day for us in our portfolio. Huge up day. Put on some unique trades. Covered some income trades for you here as well, and a little bit of what the portfolio had. If you like this video, please click that like button. I really would appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. Hopefully you find this content engaging and helpful to you, and click on that notifications button so you see what we're doing. We've got new trade rules coming out tomorrow, and we're going to be doing some reviews on some of the unique products that we're seeing out there, as far as Tesla and a few other ETFs that are writing covered calls on synthetic stock positions, which is something that we have done here on Amazon and made quite a bit of money earlier on. I think we just closed that for like a $9,000 winner, as well as selling covered calls against it. Well, there's ETFs that do the same exact thing. We'll talk about those tomorrow. All right, we'll see everybody. Enjoy a great rest of your evening. Take care and good night.